I know what you're thinking. Another doomer video about the climate apocalypse. No. This is a video about solutions.
Here, in the frigid waters of the Arctic, we encounter the magnificent walrus. She uses her dainty femme tusks and fabulous whiskers to forage the seafloor in search of clams, a favored delicacy of this remarkable creature. As the oceans warm, the once abundant ice flows, vital for sunbathing and rest, have diminished by 60%. This has devastating consequences. In the far north of Russia, 100,000 walruses must haul out on a single beach. The protagonist of this true story knows how dangerous this is, so she undertakes an arduous journey, migrating southward in search of safety. In an extraordinary turn of events, she is first photographed sleeping on the deck of a, believe it or not, walrus-class submarine nestled in the waterways of the Netherlands. After touring the North Sea, Denmark, Germany and the UK, she makes Oslo, Norway, her new home. Within a week, she is a local celebrity and finally bestowed a name, Freya, after the Norse goddess of love and beauty. At first, she is cautious of the growing crowds of pink-skinned spectators, but bathed in the comforting warmth of Oslo's sun and tossed the occasional free fish, Freya grows fond of these curious bipedal creatures. The authorities, however, have their concerns. Despite warnings about the risks of human-walrus interaction, the crowds swell unabated, and Freya shows no inclination to leave. She is, after all, a star attraction. On August 13th, 2022, Freya's day unfolds like any other, basking in the sun and socializing with marina staff. Unbeknownst to her, the authorities have decided she simply cannot stay. In the explicit interest of human safety and animal welfare, a small team arrives that night, and they shoot her in the head.
Hi, I'm Chad Marks. I am, above all things, an environmentalist. I first learned about the climate crisis in 2002, a freshman in college, and it has informed all of my major life decisions. I changed majors to philosophy, went vegan, got a graduate degree studying environmental ethics, got a second graduate degree studying biology, and became a professor, all to fight against the looming apocalypse. This is my area of expertise. I've been thinking about the climate crisis academically, practically, pedagogically for over 20 years. It's literally the reason I started making videos for YouTube. Oh, yes. Oh, is that Sophie? Can I have a kiss? Can I have a kiss? To anyone who has thoroughly studied this topic, the problem is crystal clear. Our relationship with nature is fundamentally broken. The climate apocalypse is not a distant threat. It is here, now. Our only hope to mitigate this blossoming catastrophe is to, 1, recognize capitalism as both primary driver and primary obstacle, and 2, advocate for revolutionary systemic change that dismantles the pursuit of exploitation and short-term profits. To confront this deeply entrenched power structure, a global general strike stands as our most potent means of resistance. And we'll get to all that, but first, we should start with an honest appraisal of where we are now. positive feedback loops are the scariest part about climate change. A feedback loop is positive if A leads to B, B creates C, and C produces more A, and the cycle accelerates, like a boulder gaining speed as it rolls down a hill. There are 3 notable feedback loops that you may have heard of. Albedo is how much solar energy is reflected off a surface, like sea ice. Ice reflects 90% of the heat from the sun, but as sea ice melts, the albedo of the dark ocean under that ice is much lower, absorbing more than 90% of the heat. So less ice means warmer oceans. Warmer oceans means more ice melts, which means the oceans get warmer, which means you get the idea. This is called the albedo effect. As the Earth warms, it reflects less heat, so it warms faster and faster. Methane release follows the same pattern. There are trillions of tons of methane trapped in Arctic permafrost and glaciers. As the Earth warms, methane, a greenhouse gas 28 times more potent than carbon dioxide, leaks into the atmosphere. More methane means more heat, which means more permafrost melts, which means more methane in the atmosphere, and the cycle accelerates. One of the hundreds of melting glaciers in the Arctic is already farting out 2,000 tons of methane every year. The deforestation of the Amazon is another self-reinforcing loop, a cycle that turns the world's largest rainforest into a dry savanna. This will likely happen during our lifetimes.
It could happen very soon. We could realistically be the last generation to see the Amazon.
The Amazon captures a quarter of the CO2 absorbed by all the land on Earth, but deforestation has reduced it by 30% from the 1990s. As it shrinks, it absorbs less CO2, so the Earth warms and more Amazon disappears forever. No single loop moves the needle much on its own, but there are dozens of positive feedback loops, all of which are slowly activating. And because they all raise the temperature of the Earth, they all reinforce and feed each other. The point is, even if humans disappeared overnight, these positive feedback loops would still slowly, inevitably, heat the planet. Since we've already raised the temperature 1.4 degrees from pre-industrial levels, we've pushed these boulders off the flat ground.
Yeah, that's a big fucking finger to Mother Nature, eh?
And they're starting to roll down the hill on their own. And obviously, humans are not going to disappear overnight. We are still releasing more greenhouse gases every single year. Our emissions have not
Peaked, D? Let me tell you something. I haven't even begun to peak.
Since our emissions accelerate the boulders, we are still actively pushing them down the hill with more force every year. So if all these self-reinforcing positive feedback loops, boulders, are gaining speed and power, and our relentless emissions push them even faster, this creates a cascading effect of exponential acceleration, which brings us to the actual danger. Tipping points. A tipping point is a critical threshold that, when crossed, often instigates rapid and irreversible change. We see this all throughout the geological record. Long periods of stasis, followed by very abrupt changes in the climate, indicating ancient tipping points. Times where global sea levels naturally rose 20 feet in less than a century. Many scientists are worried that we have already passed many crucial tipping points, fueled by positive feedback loops. It is crystal clear that we are rushing towards the climate's new steady state. Fire emoji, but planet. 2023 was the hottest year in 2023 was the hottest year the Earth has seen in 125,000 years. It was 1.48 degrees Celsius higher than pre-industrial levels, shattering the previous record of 1.31. The Paris Climate Agreement to limit warming by 1.5 degrees was in 2015, when the temperature was only 1.14 degrees higher. We reached that threshold in 8 years, and we are accelerating. Just look at this graph. The past 10 years have been the warmest 10 individual years on record. Okay, you say. So the Earth is warming. Who cares? Well, for starters, as temperatures skyrocket at the poles, large ice sheets become unstable. As they melt, our first problem. A. sea level rise. 230 million people live less than 3 feet above the high tide line. Displacing them will explode the already critical refugee crisis. The two main at-risk ice sheets are Greenland and the West Antarctic. Greenland melting raises the oceans 23 feet, and the West Antarctic 13. If they both melt, over 1 billion people will be displaced. Let me say that again. 1 billion people released into a world that is increasingly more xenophobic and hostile to refugees. We will almost certainly see both of these events during our lifetime. B. Extreme weather events are more common. The United States saw 25 separate billion-dollar climate disasters in 2023, a new record. This will continue to worsen. C. As the planet warms, food production is drastically reduced. Virtually all humanitarian agencies warn that climate change is already threatening global food production, and the situation gets worse every year. All this taken together, it should come as no surprise that some scientists believe there's a 90% chance that human civilization will collapse within decades. And I cannot stress this enough. These are just the human effects. This may come as a surprise to you, but humans are not the only life forms on this planet. Due to the ever-worsening crisis, we've already started D, the 6th mass extinction of life on Earth. All because of us, scientists now classify humanity as a weapon of mass extinction, comparable to the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs.
The climate crisis has arrived and is accelerating faster than most scientists expected. It is more severe than anticipated, threatening natural ecosystems and the fate of humanity.
We are fucked. And worse, we're fucking the rest of the planet. This is depressing, I know. And not to be a Debbie Downer, but these catastrophes just scratch the surface. The CO2 we emit can stay in the atmosphere for a millennium. So yearly emissions sort of miss the point. The accumulation of CO2 is what matters, giving us a carbon budget to avoid apocalyptic temperatures. So every year we release more, it means we would need sharper and increasingly impossible reductions to avoid the worst case scenarios. And we're still emitting more greenhouse gases every year.
And when I do peak, you'll know. Because I'm gonna peak so hard.
This is not a video about how we are fucked. This video is about how to unfuck ourselves. I just need you to understand. The climate apocalypse is here now. Okay? Okay, let's talk philosophy. One of my favorite movies of the past few years is Don't Look Up. It is a dark, satirical comedy about two astronomers, J. Law and Leo, who discover a planet-killing comet 6 months before it will hit the Earth.
Kate DiBiase here discovered a very large comet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Despite their efforts to warn politicians and the media about the literal end of the world,
this comet is what we call a planet killer.
That is correct.
nobody takes them seriously.
Can we just call it a potentially significant event?
Yeah.
Yes.
But it isn't potentially going to happen. It is going to happen.
It is a story about willful ignorance.
You cannot go around saying to people that there's 100% chance that they're going to die. You know, it's just nuts.
Political and corporate greed.
Okay, let's bottom line this. What is this going to cost me? You know, what's the ask here?
And the denial of scientific facts.
But the point is that Adul's right. I mean, there's still serious debate.
In the face of the apocalypse.
I'm sorry, are we not being clear? We're trying to tell you that the entire planet is about to be destroyed.
Okay.
Well, it's, just something we do around here. You know, we just keep the bad news light.
Maybe those sound familiar.
Okay, at this very moment, I say we sit tight and assess.
It is, for my money's worth, the most accurate, biting, and devastating piece of satire since Office Space. The movie paints a reality just one frame adjacent to our own. A population numbed by social media.
Your vitals show that you are sad. This will cheer you up, Peter.
You are my best friend.
Politicians more interested in the midterms.
When are the midterms?
3 weeks.
Than the apocalypse.
If this breaks before then, we lose Congress.
News shows focusing on Ariana Grande drama.
My little bumblebee, will you marry me? Oh, wow.
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
And everyone else ignoring the end of the world. But then, some luck.
You're about to lose the midterms because you got caught sending pictures of your cooch to your porn star sheriff boyfriend. So now it's to your advantage to act on the comet. Right.
Nonetheless,
We will prevail.
the politicians make big, sweeping promises. The red, white, and boner pageantry of it all. And you wonder, will they keep these promises? Of course they will. The world is at stake. Launch day finally arrives. And the whole world watches as the rockets soar into the sky. And, oh, wait,
It looks like it's turning around.
this ship is turning around.
This reporter is at a loss for words right now. Yep, it's definitely turning around.
Because there's money to be made. It turns out the comet is made of the rare minerals we need to make smartphones.
Yttrium, terbium, osmium, dysprosium, on and on and on. We're running short.
Meaning the comet is worth
Almost $140 trillion.
$140 trillion.
Yeah.
So the impotent, effete tech genius pulling the strings decides to just let the comet hit the Earth. To mine it.
I'm sorry, is that why you aborted this entire mission? Is because you're trying to mine the comet
Dr.
for
Mindy,
rare
I think we
minerals?
should.
And when these treasures from heaven are claimed, poverty as we know it, social injustice, loss of biodiversity, all these multitudes of problems are just going to become relics of the past. And humanity is going to stride through the pillars of Boaz and Joachim naked into the glory of a golden age.
Like in the real world, capitalism doesn't just cause the issue.
I say we sit tight and assess.
It literally reverses any progress made.
Yep, it's definitely turning around.
When J-Law explains the situation to regular people,
they found a bunch of gold and diamonds and rare shit on the comet. So they're gonna let it hit the planet to make a bunch of rich people even more disgustingly rich.
she is immediately black-bagged and sent home, where she is told by her parents,
Mom, Dad, I'm so glad to be home.
to keep politics out of the house.
Unlock the door.
No politics. None.
What are you talking about?
Your dad and I are for the jobs the comet will provide.
And like, sometimes people get snobby when satire is too on the nose because they need you to know how smart they are. But this line,
Your dad and I are for the jobs the comet will provide.
yeah, it's on the nose. A 10-kilometer comet on the nose.
And 23%, they don't think there's a comet at all. And that number is way up.
There's no need for subtlety when the fucking world is going to end. And then, 3/4 through the movie, they finally first see the comet in the sky.
Oh my God!
What?
That's it!
What?
That's the comet!
What? Where? Oh, shit. It's horrific and it's beautiful at the same time. Oh. We've been trying to tell you. We've been trying to tell you this whole time. It's right there. It's right there, Kate.
And it's transformative to everyone who sees it. Immediately. But that crisis is fiction. With climate change, there is no look up aha moment. There's no looming comet or countdown to impact.
Put the moment of impact on a diet app, so impact is when my diet ends.
I think the closest approximations are the collapse of either the Gulf Stream or the Thwaites Glacier, because those are major tipping points portending rapid and irreversible change. The Atlantic Gulf Stream is a crucial regulator of the global climate. It transports warm water from the tropics into the North Atlantic. If it collapses, it will severely disrupt weather patterns, leading to extreme climate fluctuations around the Atlantic. The last time it collapsed, all of Europe went into a localized ice age. And of course, the devastation of marine ecosystems touched by the Gulf Stream. Scientists are now certain that it is weakening, and it could collapse as early as 2025. As I'm editing this video in early 2024, a study came out confirming that the Gulf Stream is, indeed, showing early signs of collapse. This is happening. The second significant metric is the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica, roughly the size of Florida. It's called the Doomsday Glacier because it holds back the whole West Antarctic ice sheet, like a cork. As I mentioned earlier, when it collapses, there's nothing stopping the whole ice sheet from flowing into the ocean, raising sea levels by 13 feet. As glaciologist Ian Howitt put it,
if there is going to be a climate catastrophe, it's probably going to start at Thwaites.
Scientists believe it could collapse as early as 2026. Like the positive feedback loops, even if we cut global emissions to zero tomorrow, warm water will continue to flow beneath Thwaites for decades, ultimately collapsing the whole ice sheet.
But the bigger problem is the glacier's grounding line, the final point where the glacier rests on the bedrock. That grounding line has been shifting backwards as warm ocean water reaches underneath the ice shelf. It's moved 14 kilometers since 1992. The downhill slope of the bedrock means that as the grounding line moves back, it lifts an even bigger slice of ice behind it off the land and into the water, and that accelerates the flow of the glacier into the sea. The amount of ice flowing from Thwaites has doubled over the past 30 years, and scientists have recently detected a huge cavity, 2/3 the size of Manhattan, down here. Scientists believe this could mean Thwaites' collapse is inevitable. How soon that happens is hotly debated.
I've been following this glacier for years, and every time it makes the news, every time, the situation is worse than expected. In February of 2023, scientists discovered that cracks across the glacier were melting even quicker than previously thought. The collapse of the Gulf Stream or Thwaites conveys the immediacy of the apocalypse just as well as an inbound comet visible with the naked eye. A reckoning. Come here. Oh yes, oh yes. Is it a reckoning? Oh yes. You want some banana? That was good. Sure, nobody can look outside their window and see Thwaites collapsing, so it's not a one-to-one. But it is the Doomsday Glacier. Its collapse leads to 13 feet of ocean rise. People will scuba dive inside office buildings in the undersea ruins of Miami. And true to our current path, the movie ends on a devastating note. A global mass extinction. There's absolutely no other way for this movie to end while making its point. The point is, capitalist greed is literally dooming our planet. The point is, we are letting capitalists choose self-immolation over salvation. The point is, we are fucked, and capitalistic greed is to blame. Fossil fuel companies are the largest drivers of climate change. Greenhouse gases are what got us into this mess, and those companies have known about it since the 1970s. As global heat records fell left and right in 2023, fossil fuel corporations were pressured into making promises to greenwash their image. BP promised to lower emissions by 35% by 2030, but then changed it to 20%. And quietly expanded gas drilling. ExxonMobil promised low carbon alternatives and then abandoned the whole project. And the CEO said he's doubling oil production by 2028. Shell promised to slash emissions and cut oil production 20% by 2030, and then walked back both claims. These corporations are accelerating the apocalypse
to make a bunch of rich people even more disgustingly rich.
We don't do shit about it, largely because the right-wing propaganda machine has convinced literally half the country that these problems aren't even real. I made a whole ass video describing these propagandists as the truest evil in our world. Go check it out. Studying climate change for so long and seeing this pattern of inaction play out over and over makes me so angry and extraordinarily sad. Leo, a real-life climate advocate and activist, is given the last line of the movie, and it hits me like a ton of bricks every time.
The thing of it is we really did have everything, didn't we? I mean, when you think about it.
And then the Colorado River sustains 40 million people in the western United States, but the 23-year mega drought has reduced its flow by 20%, draining the nation's two largest water reservoirs to a quarter of their combined capacity. Scientists are concerned that
this crucial water supply for the West is on the brink of disaster.
So, naturally, a hedge fund based in New York City has bought 2,500 acres of land on the Colorado River to gain access to its water rights. These opportunistic drought vultures are trying to profit off the scarcity of the fundamental building block of life. Capitalism won't stop. In the previous section, I discussed the fake greenwashing promises from fossil fuel corporations. It was like 2 minutes ago. You remember. Those false promises are prime examples of what Timmons Roberts calls the discourse of climate delay. These literal harbingers of the apocalypse accept the existence of climate change, make false promises, and suffer no consequences when they walk them back. Because what are you gonna do? Stop driving your car? They've got us by the balls. They've got the planet by the balls. Remember, these CEOs are motivated by profits. They will be removed as CEOs if they do not maximize profits. Capitalism won't stop. It can't stop. I was writing this script during the annual UN climate negotiations, ACAB 28, and this headline popped up. UN climate talks head says, "No science backs ending fossil fuels." The leader of 2023's climate negotiations was, of course, the CEO of a United Arab Emirates state-owned oil company. Capitalism won't stop. It can't stop. It doesn't know how to stop. I said this video was about solutions, so let's put the problem into standard argument form. Fuck, it's cold out here. Premise 1, capital is power. With enough capital, you can do anything. You can influence elections, you can choose politicians, you can shape public policy, you can buy media outlets for favorable coverage, you can run Twitter straight into the ground. So as CEOs accumulate more capital, they accumulate more power, which gives us premise 2. Capitalists hold all the capital and thus hold all the power. All the power in the hands of the few is called an oligarchy, and when those few are the wealthy, we call it a plutocracy. Contrary to popular belief, America is not a democracy. We have no direct control over who becomes president because we are a plutocracy. The wealthy choose winners and losers by influencing the media, the RNC, and the DNC.
In the arms of
The laws that pass in this country, the insane decisions from the Supreme Court, all out of our hands. The moment lobbyists were allowed to make politicians rich is the moment we lost every bit of control. If all the power is held by the capitalists, that means the working class, the proletariat, you and me and everyone you know, we are powerless. In the face of such power, what can we do? We're just
small little babies.
The fossil fuel industry alone spent over $2 billion lobbying from 2000 to 2016. Did you spend $2 billion bribing the government? I didn't. All we can do is vote. Choose between the lesser of whichever capitalist
super predators, no conscience, no empathy,
planet killing,
the global warming and that it's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry.
Genocidal evils are presented.
You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
Thus, capital is power. Capitalists hold all the capital and all the power. We are powerless. Unless this is actually not true. Capitalists don't hold all the power. Let's talk about the UAW. The United Auto Workers were overwhelmingly successful in their 6-week strike of 2023. They massively shifted the power dynamic between otherwise omnipotent mega-millionaire CEOs and their serfs, the workers. The strikes earned real tangible gains for its members.
Temps, they're going to get 168% raise if you have been a temp and you become made a full-time worker under the contract. 168% over the life of this agreement. That's bonkers.
The raise for most workers was 60 to 90%. They got cost of living adjustments, more paid time off, pensions.
The improvements to workers' lives and pay that have been won in these tentative agreements are truly remarkable. The elimination of the two-tiered pay structure is also huge. That jumps a lot of workers and their salary directly by 80 to 90%.
Massive W across the board. Strikes disrupt capitalism by directly hitting its sole vulnerability: profits. Analysts believe the 6-week UAW strikes cost the corporations $3.6 billion. This awarded them huge leverage, definitively showing that the proletariat, the workers, we have vast collective power. Yes, capitalism is the most powerful force on the planet, heralding the 6th mass extinction, the harbinger of the apocalypse. But only because we give it that power. The strikes of 2023 show that despite capitalism's hegemony, we can still make it bleed. And if it
bleeds, we can kill it.
Pretty sure Arnold wears pink gloves, right? Because that's what we're doing. It's fucking freezing out here, Mr. Bigglesworth. So what do? The 3 S's. Strike, solidarity, support. At every opportunity. And be ready for the general strike. Here's Daddy Dom Sean Fain, president of the UAW.
We invite unions around the country to align your contract expirations with our own so that together we can begin to flex our collective muscles. If we're going to truly take on the billionaire class and rebuild the economy so that it starts to work for the benefit of the many and not the few, then it's important that we not only strike, but that we strike together.
April 30th, 2028. Keep this date in mind. If your job has a union, reach out to leadership and make sure your next contract expires on that date. If your job doesn't have a union, reach out to unionized workers within your job sector and ask for help starting a local chapter. I've got a link down in the description if that's something you can do. Now is the time to join and get involved. The US labor movement is growing fast. Most importantly, use whatever influence you have to broadcast and support the idea of a general strike. There is no war besides the class war, and there is no other way to combat the billionaire class. There's no other path towards real change.
The really deep message about how change is going to happen and how we're going to possibly fight to save the planet and everyone on it is by having more massive strikes as fast as we can.
And to be clear, it's good that the proposed general strike is 4 years away.
The UAW's proposed contracts expire on April 30th, 2028. They have invited other unions to also set the same expiration date on May Day, 2028. We can begin to flex our collective muscles. This is the closest you can get to a general strike. This is 1,000,000% fucking terrifying for capital owners. But you have to understand, this is how you set up years in advance.
Consider the 1917 Russian Revolution. For those of you who don't know your history, Americans, this was the end of the Russian monarchy and established a socialist, communist government under Vladimir Lenin. This revolution redistributed land and vastly improved the lives of workers. Shorter hours, better wages, and actual democratic control over their lives. Now, it's incredibly important to note, the 1917 revolution actually began in 1905. 12 years of fervent activism, intellectual discourse, and the gradual buildup of discontent. Historians believe the movement needed time to grow, organize, disseminate, and agitate. In the modern age, we connect significantly faster through social media, but the movement still needs time to grow. To bring this future about, we need to promote this idea as far and wide as we can. The only path to real change is radical action. The only path forward is revolution. Let's recap. Capitalism is driving the climate apocalypse. The only way to save the planet is to undermine and ultimately destroy capitalism. And there's only one way for the powerless to destroy the powerful: collective action, work stoppages, strikes. At the bare minimum, be supportive of any and all strikes, and be ready for a general strike in 2028. Before that, start mobilizing, agitating, and proselytizing now to give us the best odds. The literal world hangs in the balance. Strike or die. Since capitalism is the root cause of this whole...
Why is this... Oh, there you are.
Who the fuck are you?
What?
You look like me.
You're Chad Marks.
Yeah.
This is 2024? You're the wrong Chad.
Leo, a real-life climate advocate and activist, is given the last line of the movie, and it hits me like a ton of bricks every time.
We really did have everything, didn't we?
And then, Jesus, wait, you.
This still isn't right. I like the colors, though. Little derivative of ContraPoints, but what are you gonna do?
Who the fuck are you?
Call me Coda. What are you talking about, anyway?
Okay, the climate apocalypse is here now, correct. All the destruction is the endpoint of late-stage capitalism, perfect. Oh, Don't Look Up, great flick. Except for Jennifer Lawrence's terrible haircut. Okay, blah blah blah, and the only path to save the planet is to strike and end capitalism. But you've left out the most important part. Welcome to Philosophy, the talk show where mysterious characters from future episodes rupture the timeline. What is happening? Your analysis of Don't Look Up got halfway there, but you missed the film's second hidden thesis.
We really did have everything, didn't we?
Throughout the movie, there are moments where it cuts to animals, to the ocean, the garden planet, the Eden you call home. We really do have everything. The movie peppers in these beautiful shots of nature to remind you, over and over, Earth is more than humans, and only caring about humans is what got you into this mess in the first place. You're saying the unquenchable greed of capitalism is not just dooming humanity. Exactly. You have wrought a global apocalypse. You're killing everything. Thinking that humanity matters more than any other species is called anthropocentrism, the belief that humans are the central figure of Earth's story. This is a speciesist worldview, and it is the root cause of your apocalypse. There are other problems besides capitalism? Capitalism is the tool that dooms your planet, but it's not the core ideology. To better explain speciesism, let's use a story from the novel Ishmael by author Daniel Quinn. Quinn discusses the relationship between early humans and the gods, whichever gods you prefer. Yahweh, Zeus, Daddy, Me. The gods played 3 tricks on humanity. Okay. The first trick was that humans do not live at the center of the universe. Obviously. Humanity did not take this well at first, but it turned out fine, because, as Francis Crick writes, man still dwells comfortably in the pre-Copernican universe, where the world is a stage created for the most important of dramas. The human one. Daddy's favorite. Trick 2. Despite being the climax of civilization, it really sucked to learn that you evolved from the same primordial slime as ticks, cockroaches, and Ben Shapiro. Yeah, we really hated learning about evolution. Many sects of religion still refuse to accept it. But at least you're the pinnacle of that evolution, right? Yeah. And now? We own the place. The third trick the gods played is the most devious. Humans are not exempt from the law of living. A law you've never heard of because humanity hasn't come to terms with this trick yet. The law of living says that in order to survive, you may compete, you can be a predator, but you may not wage war against the other species. Pretty sure lions kill gazelles, bro. But they don't exterminate the gazelle. They may kill their competitors, but they don't exterminate them either. The species who follow the law live forever, and those who flout the law go extinct. You can trace the evolutionary line from fish to amphibian, to reptile, to bird, to mammal, to primate, to Homo sapiens, sapiens, and every single step of the way, each species was beholden to the law of living, as surely as they were bound by the law of gravity. Okay. Until the Neolithic Revolution. Do you know your history? 10,000 years ago, we transitioned from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settler agricultural communities. The first colonialists. This was the birth of human civilization. This offshoot of humanity, your ancestors, said, "We're not beholden to the law of living. Any creature that gets in the way of our agriculture, our expansion, our empire, we're gonna manifest the fucking destiny out of them." And thus began your consumption of the earth. Our conquest. Conquest? She tricked me. How did 80 outmaneuver me? Who's 80? I gotta get back. Let's finish here. Every animal on your planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment in accordance with the law of living.
But you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply, and multiply until every natural resource is consumed. And the only way you can survive is to spread to another area. There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet.
And like every single species that disregards the law of living, you are marching towards your own extinction. Except with the advent of industry and technology and malignant capitalism, it's not merely your extinction. We've metastasized into the 6th mass extinction of life on Earth. To recap Daniel Quinn's argument, humans are not the center of the universe. Humans evolved from primordial slime like everything else. And humans are not exempt from the laws of nature because humans are not special. You are not God's gift to the world. You are not the peak of evolution. You are the same decaying matter as everything else on your planet. Well, hold on. Humans are special. I don't see dogs creating YouTubes or chimpanzees spaceships or cats doing calculus. We are clearly the pinnacle of evolution. Again, the belief that humans are the central figure, the primary story, the peak of evolution, this is called anthropocentrism. It is a speciesist worldview that assumes human superiority. I understand racism and sexism, but I've never heard of speciesism. Exactly. Because every story you hear, any education you receive, the subtext of your entire collective civilization automatically assumes that humans matter most. Your civilization's deep conviction of this bloodthirsty belief violates the law of living. Humanity has waged a relentless, unilateral war against the planet. And since you are in stark violation of this law, you are heading for and causing extinction. Well, we may kill everything else, but humans aren't going to go extinct. We're too good at bending the world to our desires. Let's look at this another way, with a second story from the novel Ishmael. When humans first tried to create flying aircraft, it was trial and error. Lots of planes crashed. Lots never even got off the ground. You understood the laws of gravity, but you didn't understand the laws of aerodynamics. Trying to create an airplane without understanding aerodynamics led to crash after crash after crash. So it is creating civilizations without understanding the law of living. Hundreds of civilizations have come and gone before your current Western civilization. The ancient Egyptians, Mesopotamians, the Mayans, the Greek and Roman civilizations, all gone. Imagine someone trying to create the first flying machine. A pedal-powered craft with flapping wings. Looks cool. Indeed. Unfortunately, this craft violates the laws of aerodynamics. He names it the LSC and takes it to the top of a cliff thousands of feet high, and he launches. He pedals his vessel with a smile on his face, ignorant of his predetermined fate. "I'm flying," he screams, in free fall. For the first 9/10 of his journey, it's fucking great. He has no bruises, no injuries. The craft is just going faster and faster as he pedals away. He's certain of his success. But then he looks down, and the ground is coming up kind of quick. And then he notices all the other craft crash below that failed before him. The ruins of ancient civilizations. I mean, aircraft. He thinks, this could be a problem. I better pick up the pace. The LSC has carried him safely so far. He just needs to put in a little more effort. He pedals harder and harder, but since his craft wasn't aerodynamic in the first place, no amount of pedaling will save him. And finally, with an ever-increasing last-minute panic... Okay, so how is our aircraft civilization not in accordance with the law? Because of capitalism? No, anthropocentrism dooms your aircraft civilization. Capitalism is just the tool. You previously made a video about tribalism. Yes, go check it out. Define tribalism for me. Tribalism is a strong loyalty and preference for your own kind, with a prejudiced view of outsiders, a deep sense of allegiance and belief of your own group's superiority. Racism, sexism, and queerphobia are obvious examples of tribalism. The belief that queer, trans women of color are inferior to white, cisgendered, straight men. I've sucked way too many dicks to be straight. Regardless, the most widespread and destructive form of tribalism is speciesism. Your whole civilization implicitly believes that humans are superior. While I was writing this script, I saw this on social media, posted by an environmentalist and shared by multiple people I love and respect.
What do you fear most about climate change? Floods, hurricanes, wildfires? None of the above. It's the consequential wars. It's conflict over fragile and declining resources. It's violence over scarce food and water. It's the rapid rise of fascism. We won't just lose swaths of nature and environmental stability. We will lose our humanity too.
And the worst outcome of climate change is not war. It's not losing our humanity. Assuming that the human cost is the most severe consequence of climate change, that's the main problem. We watch movies and feel devastated when a kid dies or when the puppy is dead. Because they're pure, innocent, both in need of and worthy of our protection. And we're killing an entire biosphere. Everything. All of it. Ironically, this anthropocentric assumption is the crisis. Since it violates the law of living, there is no chance to save the LSC. The anthropocentric belief that humans matter most has pushed your planet so far out of balance that your current geological epoch of history is the Anthropocene, the epoch where humanity emerged as the primary driver of global change. I mean, our speciesism has evolved us far, and quickly. Sure, bolstered by capitalism, you've grown from hairless apes to creating digital worlds and irrevocably altering the course of the only livable planet within 69 trillion miles. Nice. But the reckoning is here. The LSC is so close to its violent end, following every single prior human civilization. Late stage capitalism. Experts say it's too late. Capitalism will save us. Human ingenuity will save us. The empire will save us. No. Your aircraft civilization is not in accordance with the law. It doesn't matter how hard you pedal. Speciesism, your complete disregard for the law of living, is the rotten heart of Western civilization. The only solution to speciesism is for humanity to evolve, which I'll discuss with the different Chad marks in your next video. What? You'll call it evolve or die. Speciesism is the disease, but before you can treat it, you need to tourniquet the gushing wound that makes climate change unstoppable. Late stage capitalism. And to that end, your thesis is correct. Strike or die. Okay, I'm gonna send you back to your universe now. Wait, do you wanna like fool around or what? I got a thing. I know this isn't all the solutions. Everything is fucked, but there are still shades of gray. If you want the best case climate scenario instead of the worst, you have to fight. Striking is the first step, but we also need to evolve. Be sure to watch Chad's next video discussing exactly that. Also, Chad does this full time, driven by his need to teach, outreach, and motivate others to help save the world. So if it's possible, consider supporting him on Patreon if you're into that sort of thing. But even if you can't offer financial support, liking, commenting, and sharing his videos are the best ways to support him for free. Okay, bye.